Good afternoon. It's such a pleasure and an honor to be able to have the closing session today with some illustrious panelists who are going to give you some great information about this particular topic. But first, I'm going to transition to some images, hopefully that we can show. So we'd like to first start with Pham. And so Ann, you're with Worley's Corporate Workforce Development. Can you tell us a little bit more about Worley and its place and space in this world?
Yeah. So, hi everyone. My name is Pham. I'm the Corporate Workforce Development Manager for Worley. So Worley is an international EPC. So EPC stands for Engineering, Procurement, and Construction. So we deal with a lot of consulting, business development, large-scale industrial projects. And so I'm really thrilled to be here serving on this panel with some very elite speakers, all of whom I consider friends. And so I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about hydrogen. I know that this is a hydrogen summit, but our first hydrogen project really won't start until the first quarter of next year. So what I thought I'd do was just to share some pictures of our first DAC, which is our direct air capture facility. And this is located in the Permian Basin, West Texas. And it has some elements, I think, that will transfer over to hydrogen because it does have that carbon capture. So with that, I also heard a lot of panelists talk about our apprenticeship, how are we going to target new talent, how do we train them, how do we retain them. And so some of the pictures you see here actually are from our apprenticeship academy that we have in-house there on site that allows the individuals classroom training along with on-the-job learning, and it's free of cost to the apprentices. And we cover all of their costs. We follow the NCCER curriculum for the academy, and we offer 12 different craft occupations. In addition, I also want to say that it is a registered apprenticeship program with the U.S. Department of Labor. Well, one of the things that we try and do is be very inclusive and have a very diverse workforce. One of which we do that is we have these initiatives called a Work Ready program, which allows individuals with very little skills, education, or experience, allowing them a foot in the door to be in the industrial construction. And as I sit here, this is an actual flyer in an initiative that we launched with our partners at Hall, with Rommell and Eric earlier this year, that allowed 9 individuals, predominantly women, some veterans, who had, again, very little education experience in the industrial construction, and then allowed them free of cost, 2-week training, and then transportation wraparound services from Workforce Solutions, Gulf Coast, which allowed them to have some housing, how transportation in terms of like even gas cards, insurance, paying for their insurance just to get out to the site. So what you see here on this stage is really a partnership. It is a fruitful collaboration, and so I'm going to just stop right there.
So thank you very much, Ann. This is a perfect transition to the Houston Area Urban League. And so we're joined today by 2 members, Eric Goodie and Rommell Williams. So Eric, tell us a little bit more about the Houston Area Urban League. Obviously you're doing great work in developing the workforce, but a little bit about the history.
Yeah, thank you so much, Juliet. It's really a pleasure for us to have an opportunity to present today. And you might ask yourself, why 2 representatives from one organization? The Urban League as a national brand was established over 100 years ago. Currently, there are 90 affiliates across the country, and we provide core services in the areas of education, housing, workforce development, skills training, health, and entrepreneurship. We have a 2-pronged approach to our service delivery. One is direct services to our constituents and our clients. The other is advocacy. So really excited today to have an opportunity to advocate for our clients in terms of the high velocity hydrogen hub and other hydrogen opportunities in the Harris County area. I have been in service with the Urban League in Houston for over 20 years and have worked across programs. And one of the significant focuses for us is to ensure that our clients have capacity to participate when opportunities like this come online. So we are currently facilitating outreach, education, and then enrollment into our core programs. What is the use of talking to an individual about hydrogen, carbon, or solar when they don't fully understand the application that it's going to have on them in their daily lives? How does that land in terms of their utility bills? How does it land in terms of their mobility and their understanding of EVs or LNG-powered vehicles or hydrogen-powered vehicles? So just ensuring that people really understand what's going on in the energy transition, understand the application or the implication that it's going to have on them and their families, and then how they can participate in terms of workforce development, career pathways, economic mobility, so small business startup, procurements with major corporations, and et cetera.
And as the Executive Vice President of the Houston Area Urban League, can you tell us a little bit about this photo?
That is a very historic photo, of course, with the Martin Luther King Jr., Whitney M. Young, who was one of the early president and CEOs of the National Urban League, talking with President Lyndon Johnson. And of course, when we talk about, again, advocacy, it was really a conversation during the Civil Rights Movement about how the Urban League could serve as a resource across the country to empower communities. You know, today in many of the presentations, I heard an acronym, CADS, which talks about disadvantaged communities. And part of my personal objective and objectives for urban leagues is to change the narrative. It is, from my perspective, not productive to go into communities and to tell them that they're disadvantaged. It's more about how a community can benefit and to come from a positive perspective which empowers people rather than minimizing them and having them to feel like they have been marginalized when these types of transformational opportunities come into existence within, our country and specifically in Houston.
Thank you. So Rommell Williams, you're the Workforce Development Training Leader at the Houston Area Urban League. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and these programs?
Oh, sure. Thank you so much, and it's an honor to be here today. One of the direct services that Eric mentioned is our Urban Energy Jobs Program, which is through our Center for Energy Workforce Development. And Ann talked about the Work Ready program and the partnership. With our Urban Energy Jobs Program, we are able to train, certify individuals in the renewable clean energy sector. When Ann and I partnered up with this program, we were able to come together, and I heard someone ask earlier, was about how do you bring all of the parties together, just through collaborations and really having a direct intent to have an employer-led initiative. Worley came and wanted to partner with the Urban League because they had job opportunities that they needed to fill in Odessa, Texas. They knew exactly the type of training, the clientele, and what would be needed in order to make this happen. It was a unique request and need because of the level of support services that would be needed to relocate individuals from Houston, Texas to Odessa. But we facilitated a 2-week training class. Students are able to get their OSHA 30 certification. Utilizing the NCCER curriculum, they were able to get fall protection safety, intro to the power industry, alternative energy for for wind, nuclear, and solar energy. They were also able to get 2 other certifications through UT Arlington in fall protection safety and excavation. After they completed the training, they were hired by Worley and was able to relocate. But with that relocation came a level of income supports that was needed, one of which was housing assistance. We were able to provide them with 30 days of housing support while they get adjusted to living in Odessa. We were able to provide them with transportation assistance and gas cards, upward of close to maybe $500 that they received in order to make that relocation happen and to get to and from work until they received their first 2 paychecks. So the support is definitely needed, but what's more important is having that employer that see that they have the need and they have the opportunities for people to really take advantage of. And one thing that we strive to do at the Urban League is to provide people with an opportunity to upskill, get a job, not only for themselves, but their families. And so what we're looking at now as we are in this energy transition is that, our sweet spot is going to be a lot of the infrastructure building. But our goal is to have those individuals that may build the facility, but the generation after, and after that, will be the ones that's working inside that facility as the engineers and the plant operators.
And so we have some photos here, some other activities that the Houston Area Urban League does in the community as well. Can you share a little bit more about how you engage youth as well?
Yes, so really these photos here are a lot of our outreach events that we have with a lot of our different partners, one of which is the independent school districts. So we understand that information is critical. Our role as we go into the schools and we're in front of 200 or 300 families is to educate them on this energy transition, the available job opportunities, and how we can really impact their communities. So we leverage our programs in education, health and wellness, social justice, to take that opportunity while we are in front of people to really educate them on how these initiatives will really impact them and their families.
Thank you.
Juliet, before we transition, just a couple of things that are really important. First, the Urban League is an accredited training sponsor for NCCR. I have been certified as a master trainer, Rommell also as a trainer, so we're able to facilitate this training in-house. Secondly, we have attracted a lot of corporate sponsorship, which allows us to provide the income supports and the holistic support services. So foundations like JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, and others have contributed to our Urban Energy Jobs program, and we utilize all of those resources as a direct pass-through to empower these clients, again, not just for to obtain the job, but for job retention. And then lastly, the partnerships and the ability to go into the schools, not only to engage the students, but the families, introduces them not only to the direct services, but also the advocacy aspects. So we're able to accomplish multiple goals simultaneously.
Thank you. So now with our last panelist, it's Paul Puente, who serves as the Executive Secretary of the Houston Gulf Coast Building and Construction Trades Council. And so, Paul, can you tell us a little bit about your organization? We heard earlier today about pre-apprenticeship and the Apprenticeship Readiness Program.
Yes, it's great being here. Again, my name is Paul Puente. I'm the Executive Secretary for the Houston Gulf Coast Building and Construction Trades Council. I represent 23 different construction unions in the Houston Gulf Coast area. We cover a large area in our council, covers 20 counties surrounding Harris County. We go as far north as Bryan College Station area, all the way down southeast to Point Comfort, and east to the Trinity River. There are 9 councils in the state of Texas, and we're the largest populated council. We have 13 registered apprenticeship programs. In these 13 apprenticeship programs, we educate and train young men and women in the industry and construction. These apprenticeship programs are at no cost to the individual. They're earn while you learn. And our program had created an apprenticeship readiness program that y'all heard Leonard talk about a little bit. I'll go into a little bit more detail. Our outreach starts out with over 400 different community-based organizations, faith-based groups, independent school districts, community colleges, and obviously word of mouth. And then, our own apprenticeship program has a feeding tool to be able to outreach to those individuals. We'll compile a list on an annual basis or twice a year. We'll do a couple of these twice a year, but we'll do about 1,100 individuals or 1,200 individuals where we'll reach out to the community. our main focus is those that are unemployed, underemployed, women, people of color, and transitioning veterans. And something that's very similar to what a lot of the folks have been talking about is that outreach to ensure that our communities that are struggling get lifted up. And we've seen that happen in our own industry. When the folks have a career path, they're able to have sustainable lives, not only for themselves and their children, but generational. So it's not even just them themselves, but we've seen it historically where the entire family and it's generational. As their kids grow up, they tend to have a better life as well. So once we do the outreach to those folks, we invite them over to an interview. They have to have minimum requirements is the 18 years of age or older. They have to have a high school diploma or a GED. They have to provide a transcript that's sealed with a passing grade in algebra. They have to have a social security card, a birth certificate, and a selective service. Once they provide all those documents, we then in turn, we interview them to see if this is really what they want to do for a living. Because this is a career choice. This isn't some job today and then tomorrow they're going to do something else. This is something they're going to do for the rest of their life, hopefully, and make a career out of it. This is a great foundation for a lot of folks. I'm an electrician by trade. I've been doing this over 34 years now. And, you know, it's done wonders for myself and my family and the people around me. And what we're trying to do is share that experience to those individuals that are struggling. As I mentioned, we're not looking for GPAs. We're not looking to see how you did on your SATs. We're looking for individuals that are looking for a career where they don't develop any type of debt. Once those individuals go through an interview process, we'll do a little bit of an evaluation on their math and reading comprehension. Then we select the best out of 125. We select 25 to 30 individuals. Once those individuals get selected, we'll go through an interview process. An orientation process. That orientation, we're going to cover, some ground rules, safety. We're going to go over code of conduct, that you need to be there early. You need to be there every day. You have to be engaged. We're looking for individuals that want what we have to offer because it comes at no cost to them, but it isn't at no cost. Someone's paying for this. And so we want to make sure that this scholarship is taken advantage of. So once we have the class, we start 3 weeks. It's a 3-week course, 120 hours. It's 40 hours a week. We start at 7 o'clock in the morning and it ends at 3:30. We start at 7 in the morning and they have to be there before 7. So our mantra is, so if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time,
You're late.
you're late.
You're late.
And if you're late, you're gone. And it's serious. These little small tidbits of rules that we have are important to follow because that shows your temperament. It shows that you're paying attention. Our industry is extremely dangerous. So we teach OSHA 10. We teach first aid and CPR. We certify in those things, in those certifications. We go through 40 hours of construction math. We talk to them about the industry and construction. We go over tools. We go over fall protection. We cover green construction to show that we make less an environmental impact. We also teach women's health. We teach diversity in the workplace. We teach financial literacy, with blueprint reading. And then we have a graduation. You can see the graduation that we just had this past Friday. Our keynote speaker was our mayor, Mayor Whitmire, and our guest speaker was one of our city council member that represents that area, Mr. Martinez, Joaquin Martinez, and It was a great class. This class started out at 35 individuals, ended up with 31. We lost a couple of them to drug testing because we drug test. We want to make sure that the individuals are ready to go to work, and we are a drug-free industry. And then the other thing was, we have those rules. We see a success in this program if you complete the program and you're able to be placed at work. We also see it as an individual finding out that this isn't what they want to do for a living, because the last thing we want to do is waste their time, waste our time, and waste money. So from then, when they graduate, we turn them over to their career coach, and they start placing these individuals in their respective trades. Throughout the 3 weeks, we have representatives from each of our apprenticeship schools talk to these individuals, explain to them what the benefit packages are, the pensions, the educational that's going to be given to them. And then we do mock interviews as well, because a lot of these apprenticeship programs have interviews to get selected in. And the panel is made up of labor management. I know Leonard talked about that earlier. And then they make a selection. Once they put the work, we have the 1-to-1 ratio. We have 1 journeyman to 1 apprentice. And that's the mentor-protege scenario, but it's a journeyman to an apprentice. And that apprentice will go to work and learn from that journeyman. And as they pass their classes, they'll get a raise. Every time they pass their class, they get a raise. So once they turn into a professional in the industry, then they're going to get an apprentice. And that's how the knowledge from 1 apprentice to a journeyman to a journeyman to an apprentice gets transferred. So they'll go out and work in the field, and they'll be bragging to their family, I built that. so you have individuals who are very proud of what they've done, and so am I. So thank you.
Thank you.
Juliet, what Paul has really described so granularly is really important. We've heard about the thousands of jobs that are going to be created associated with these hydrogen initiatives that are coming online. So imagine if every individual has an opportunity to go through that type of training, whether it's through Paul's organizations, Urban League, or other partners, and they get that type of acclimation. When they get the job, they understand that it is a career pathway. So it really speaks to the retention and the longevity and a career. We call these white-collar, blue shirt jobs, because the credentialing and the certification is what allows them to get the jobs. It doesn't require the college degree, but it not only provides a livable wage, but a salary that they can provide for themselves and their families to begin to generate generational wealth.
And so you're looking at four wonderful persons, but 3 amazing organizations. And you're from private industry, but you're deeply working with the community to recruit, retain, and have the next generation of talent to be able to build these massive projects that we looked at just earlier, right? And then with the Houston Area Urban League, you have a nonprofit institution, long-standing history, understanding the community, with the opportunities to be able to upskill and train and connect. And then, Paul, you have an organization embedded in labor and connecting a vast network of various joint apprenticeship training programs. And so I want to pivot to Ann and ask, as the private company representative here, what is Worley's workforce development strategy, and why is it so intentional in being focused on registered apprenticeship programs?
Yeah, it's, our workforce development strategies are around a few pillars. The first one is finding the right talent. How do we do that? So it is immediately going to our local stakeholders, where that's the Workforce Solutions, wherever that our project is located in. The Blue Hydrogen project has happened in Baytown, and so that is within Juliet's territory, so we will be working directly with them to find talent. The second pillar that we look at is after we find them, we recruit them, we train them, and then we retain them. And so the training part, we can't do it alone. I mean, some of our projects are 8,000 people, some of them are 800. So it runs the gamut. So we can't do it alone, and that's when I'll have to tap into nonprofit organizations like Hall or other, community faith organizations. We are labor neutral. So we have unions that work on our projects as well. If they can perform the work, we will hire them to do the work. So we're labor neutral on that aspect. But the retention is, how do you continually develop that individual once they pass our gate? So we also require drug testing, we require background check, and we do random drug testing. And I wanted just to say that for students out there, your attendance and tardiness will get you. In our industry, like what Paul was just saying, we will fire you. We will terminate you if you're late. I can't tell you how many individuals we have terminated just because they were 1 minute late. You check in at 6:55. The crew leaders have to check in 30 minutes before that, but the crew checks in at 6:55. And then we give you back those 5 minutes at the end of your work shift. But if you're 1 minute late, you are docked, and you're given your first warning. The second time that happens, you're docked again on your pay, and then you're given a second warning. It happens a third time, we escort you outside, and you're terminated. It's because we run such a tight crew, and we have to get these projects up and going. And it's paramount, because what do we do very first thing every single day without fail is a safety briefing. And if you miss your safety briefing, then you're going to be behind what the others are trying to do. And so your foreman, your supervisors will be telling you what your crew assignments are for that day, what are the things that we need to focus on. And so if you miss it, you've missed a huge, important part of the discussion. But yeah, no, we take pride in trying to retain and develop the individual. And again, all of this is on no cost to the individual. We pay for the curriculum, we pay for the in-house instructors, we pay for the books, we pay for the exams, any type of evaluations, tools that they may need, clothing, PPE. It's on Worley. What we're asking you is that this is a career. We start you at the bottom of a career ladder, and then you have a distinct pathway, kind of like if you're in school, you have your first semester, second, third, fourth, to get to that degree pathway. We have the same thing. It's a career ladder, and it's a year 1, year 2, 3, and 4. And then at the end of it, you're going to be certified or licensed, and we pay you along the way. It's a huge bump in pay every rung of the ladder that you climb. And then at the end of that rung, we then add another layer for leadership. So we will groom you to be the next leader.
So, given that we have a lot of talent needed, I'm going to ask Rommell, what can we do to create a sustainable, scalable system that's going to allow us to recruit the persons to be the next generation of leaders that Ann needs?
The ecosystem is sitting here. We have everything here right now on this panel. We have the workforce board, we have the private sector, we have the trades, the unions, and we have nonprofits and community organizations. It's going to take all of us to really understand what the needs are and how we can best reach the clients that really need to take advantage of these opportunities. Empowerment comes from information and preparation. First thing we have to do is make sure that we're getting the right information out, that we're educating the community. That's number one. The preparation comes with the training, and a lot of what Paul and Dan talked about, making sure that individuals are prepared for the opportunities. Training entities like the Urban League, we have to make sure that we understand what the employers need. So when Ann says you're fired after being 1 minute late, when our training class starts at 8 o'clock, then the doors are closed at 8 o'clock. When I started in this work many years ago, our classroom started at 8 o'clock. The instructor stood at the door at 7:55. And if you did not walk through that door before 8 o'clock, she told you to turn around and go home. Somewhere over the years, we have gotten a little soft and gotten away from that and just let people come as they are and come on in just to meet a number or whatever. We need to get back to making sure that candidates that are looking for these opportunities, that say they want a job, say that they want a career, that they also understand that it's not going to be given to you. We believe in providing a hand up, not a handout. And so we can do a much better job as well, just making sure that candidates are fully prepared for these opportunities. And again, not only for themselves, and we have said this many times, it's not for the individual only, it's for their families, and making sure that they understand that this is going to impact generations moving forward.
Thank you. So I know I was given notice to transition to our Q&A, and so I'd like to open it up to see if there are any questions from the audience. Yes, ma'am. Is there a microphone?
It's coming.
Oh, here she comes. Here she comes. Oh, here he comes.
You are putting a lot of effort into getting the right people, right? How do you make sure that those not gonna leave, we're gonna get the first job within the organization, and then they're gonna leave to another state and city, and you're gonna have, again, that gap in the state?
So how do you keep up with this issue of attrition?
Yeah, so we do have a high attrition, and it's okay because our philosophy is that even if they're with us just for a short time, whether that's a few months or maybe just 1 or 2 years, we hope that we've lifted the industry. So it is okay with us if we have invested in you with time, effort, money, education, training, and if you leave us, we hope that you at least stay within the industry and go to another job. Like there was Daniel earlier who was with AES. We hope that you will go and look for a job there because at least what we've done is lifted the industry.
And another thing, so with NCCER, it is a nationally recognized credential, so it's portable to the individual. So it's really for us about capacity building so that they have a skill set regardless of where they might move to, and that they can connect to those opportunities in the state wherever they have to move. Ideally, we would desire that there is some long-term employment, but again, portability of the credential allows them to be able to move around.
Paul, you wanted to add something?
So in the union, you're part of an organization that you elect your leaders. And within that, there is a collective bargaining agreement that provides you health care, that provides you pensions, that provides you education outside of what you make at an hourly rate. So additional to your hourly rate, you receive these benefits. So we don't have a lot of turnover where individuals will leave the organization to go work in the open shop. And so that's kind of how ours kind of stay around, because who else provides them those types of benefits? Where can you do that in another industry? Let me just also say that our programs with our local workforce board have been supported for a long time. And, we owe a lot to our workforce board in connecting our industry together and providing us a lot of information. So it kind of gets us into the right track.
If I may, hi all. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing in this space. I think it's very commendable. I am first gen, I come from a DAC. I have friends that have been part of some of these programs, so kudos to you all for continuing to do this. My question's on the same vein, but I'm curious to know, what is the retention rate of your, what are they called, employees once they go through the whole pipeline? I'm curious to know how many of them actually stay.
So I can speak to our apprenticeship program. So our first year before the ARP MC3 program was instituted was around 70% retention. then, you know, once you get into the second and third year, it increases the percentage because that's pretty much your graduating class. Once we've instituted the ARPMC3 that help educate individuals about what they're about to get themselves into, it's increased from 70% to 85 to 90%. So we've increased our numbers and our retention numbers on the first year. Once you get into second and third year apprentices, they pretty much stay throughout the whole program. They're kind of vested in, unless something happens in their family that they have to leave. But for the most part, those are our retention rates.
What about past the program when they become full-time employees?
Yeah, once they're comparable employees, they have health care, they have pensions, they've established themselves within the companies that or the contractors that they work for. They're starting to get leadership roles into, you know, foreman, general foreman, superintendent. Some of them even open up their own business and utilize those same workforce that they used to belong to help their company grow.
Yeah, so with Worley, that's a good question. So we had an attrition rate of like 21% leaving. So it was a constant dance, people coming in, people leaving. And then when we implemented the Apprenticeship Academy, it went down to 10%. So now it's a competitive. It's like, well, he's in the apprenticeship program. Why can't I be in the apprenticeship? Because I get free training, I get a licensure, I get certificate, I get all this education. And so then it becomes almost like a competitiveness. And then when you graduate from the program, then now you're in that leadership role. You're either a journey worker, a supervisor, or a foreman. And then it adds one more income, but then you qualify for per diem. And depending on the project location, you could get anywhere from $3,000 to $4,500, even sometimes $6,000 extra, just per diem every month.
Incredible. Just you all.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Oh, please. Are there any other questions from the audience? Oh, here's. So I wanted to give y'all a 30-second opportunity to give a closing statement. But I know we have another question. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you for your incredible work. It's really great what you're all doing for the community. It's really incredible. You mentioned before that the important thing about this hydrogen transition is to convince the public about how important this would be to them, how it's going to affect their energy bill, their mileage, all of that. But as a grad student or as a postdoc, it sometimes feels like we're so far removed from being able to communicate this type of information to the general public. Like I mean, for me, I feel like an egghead sitting on my ivory tower or something. Do you have any suggestions on how we would sometimes do these types of outreach to the public? How would we go out there into the field and actually talk to people, convince them about how hydrogen transition would be important to them, important for their future, important for their wallet, and all of that?
Yeah, I love your analogies. An egghead sitting in an ivory tower. You know, it really is about first understanding the language that we use when we talk to the various communities, and always trying to break it down into small enough pieces where they understand the practical application of energy transition on themselves. And for us, it's about early and often. So again, you know, some of the sticks and bricks won't be on the ground until late 25, 26 in Houston. But we've already begun having the conversations, both to advocate and also to inform in our community, so that people begin to embrace the energy transition, begin to understand the practicality of it, and how that is going to land in their homes and in their pocketbook. And so again, it's early and often, it's understanding the language that we utilize to communicate and making it very practical to the target audience that we're communicating with.
No, I agree. I think, you know, we use a lot of social media. We use a lot of different platforms to get to individuals, but keeping it simple, keep it as contextual to the community to understand what it is that you're trying to educate them about, but keep it as simple as you can, almost elementary. And then people's attention spans so you need to be very precise in what it is that you're trying to explain.
Yeah, we're going to do some hydrogen TikToks and things.
And you know, one thing I think that's really important is this opportunity to have convenings like this. So that way there can be a synergy between what's happening in academia, industry, nonprofit, and community. And the more we have people sitting down together, as we have today, you'll have more opportunities to develop a common language that becomes familiar, but also developing these relationships of trust, which I have with each one of you. And thank you for your leadership and support in making the state and our Houston Gulf Coast region a fantastic place to work. So,
Thank you, Juliet.
Thank you.
Thank you.